Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be covering how to create your own customizable and reusable functions in Excel, and this will be through using the Lambda function. So this will be a way to create custom calculations or actions without needing to know how to write or create a macro or write in VBA. So it's a pretty simple and straightforward way to getting the most out of Excel and to really cut back on having to write the same functions or formulas over and over again. And so I have a few examples that will start with the simplest form and get slightly more complex over time to show you the different uses, and it can really be used in so many ways. But once you have the fundamentals down, you can expand on it for your needs. So we'll get started by typing equals ALMBDA, and it creates a function value which can be called within formulas, which will create a function that will either use a calculation or parameter here. So the parameter will be a variable that we set. So we could do a comma b. So those will be two parameters, comma a plus b will be the calculation. So we could put an ending parenthesis, but when we hit enter, it will come back with an error. And that's because we need to actually create our own custom function. But this is a good example of how we could do it. So if we highlight this and press Control C, we'll copy this. Then we'll go into the cell and just hit delete, and it will get rid of that. So now we'll go into the formulas tab and then click on define name. So the name will be first function, and the scope can be the workbook. It could also be to a specific sheet, but we'll leave it for the whole workbook for now. Then a comment could just be our first function, and then refers to will be the function that we want to apply. So we can actually paste that Lambda function that we created, click OK. And so now when we want to call this function, our first custom function, we'll just type equals and we'll type the name. So it was first function, and it has the description there, our first function. When we click on it, it has the different parameters being A and B. And this could also be any letter, so it could be X and Y, but we chose A and B for this example. So we'll choose A2, this cell, to represent A, then comma for B, we'll select cell B2. So now when we hit enter, this will take the value in A1 and add, or in A2 and add B2, giving us 15. If we copy this down, it'll give us 25 and 100. And so what makes this great is, say we had these exact same numbers somewhere else, could be on the sheet, could be somewhere else in this workbook. We could just copy this function, paste it, but we could also just type equals first function and then take A comma B to give us the same value. So that's how easily we can call on this function, and we created our first custom and reusable function. And for the next example, it'll be slightly more complicated, as it will do a calculation other than just adding two parameters. And so for this example, it could be a very useful one. We want to convert degrees of Fahrenheit into degrees of Celsius. So we can start by defining a name, since we know we need to put the Lambda function within a named value. So degrees Celsius would be a great name for this. In the comment, converts F to C, or Fahrenheit to Celsius, and then refers to, so this will be the function. We can type equals Lambda, and then we can do an opening parenthesis. And so we'll just need one parameter. So the parameter in this case could be F. So we want it to be Fahrenheit or whatever cell we choose to hold that value. And so now a comma, and then we'll want to do the calculation. So the calculation will be 5/9 or 5/9, and then multiplied by, in parentheses, F, which will be that stored parameter, minus 32. You can close that parentheses and then close the parentheses for the whole Lambda function and hit enter, click OK. So now if we want to call in this function, we'll type equal, we'll start typing degrees Celsius, and it converts Fahrenheit to Celsius. We'll double click, and F will just be the value that we want to pass through. So we can click on cell A2 and hit enter, and this will convert these Fahrenheit degrees into Celsius. And so 32 degrees Fahrenheit would be 0 Celsius, or the freezing point of water. So we'll put 32, it will convert it to 0 in Celsius. And so now we have a reusable function that if we type in any cell equal degrees Celsius, we can apply it to any other cell. And these calculations could be as simple as we'd like or as complex with as many parameters as we'd like. So really, when deciding on what Lambda functions to use it for, it will come down to how commonly you write these functions or how commonly you want to use them in a workbook, because they can end up saving you tons of time instead of writing out the function every single time. And so for the third example, I have some text. Since you can use Lambda functions with numbers for calculations or text or both, and really anywhere in between, just depending on the scenario. So for this example, we'll replace the text of these sentences. So I'll show you the function we're going to apply to the Lambda function and then how we can use the Lambda function for two scenarios. So what we'll be doing is typing equals regex replace. So what we're going to do is replace text. So the text will be this cell. We'll add a comma, and the pattern will be in double quotes. We'll get rid of the. So that's the text we're replacing it within this function. The replacement, we don't actually want to replace anything. We can leave it blank, so we can actually just skip that and add another comma. The occurrence, we want it to be all occurrences, so we can just add another comma. And then case insensitivity, so we can actually put a 1 here. We want it to be case insensitive, and then add a closing parenthesis and hit enter. So now it changes the sentence the dog and the cat to dog and cat, the house and the car to house and car, and the apple fell from the tree to apple fell from tree. So that's how we could get rid of the in these sentences, but we could also create our own custom function with Lambda to call on it to get rid of all thes within a cell. And for the name of this, we can actually put it to replace the, and then the comment can be replaces the text within cell, and then refers to, this is where we'll start to type equals Lambda opening parenthesis, and then we can just choose a letter for our variable. We can make it X in this case, and then another comma, and then we'll want to add our calculation. So this will be what we're actually having happen when we pass through X. So we can actually take regex replace, opening quote, and then the text will be X. So that will be what we're passing through, comma. The text that we want to replace will be the. So we'll do double quote, the, another double quote, and then we'll do comma, comma, comma to skip all of the other optional parameters within the regex replace function. And then we'll put 1 for all occurrences. Then we'll add 2 parentheses to close the regex replace function and then the Lambda function. We'll click OK. And then within this cell, we'll type equals replace and then replace the. So replaces the text within the cell. We'll pass through X being A2, hit enter, and we get the same exact values that we did before, replacing the within the sentence. So now that we have this function, which would be replace the, we could make another replace function. So we can actually go into the name manager, and when we click on this, it will show all of our custom functions. So if we double click on replace the, or just click edit, we can copy the same exact function with Control C, click OK, and then we can click new. And so we can make this replace underscore and. So instead of replacing the word the, we will replace and in text. and then we'll paste down here the same exact function, and where the is, we'll just put and. So now when we click OK, and then we can just exit out of this pop-up, we'll type equals replace, and now we have a function called replaces and, which replaces and in the text. So now when we select this and pass this through the function, instead of removing the word the, we can remove the word and. And so now we could expand on these and add tons of different custom functions that could replace and manipulate all of these text strings depending on the scenario. And so I hope these examples help you understand the fundamentals behind creating your own customizable and reusable functions using Lambda. But that's all I have for you in this video. If you enjoyed, remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.